Week 7 of the NFL season is in the record books. I'm sad to see it go because I cashed in with back-to-back 15-time best bet winners on Sunday with the Patriots and on Monday night with the Denver Broncos. But listen, guys, this is the rear view mirror show because I'm a firm believer that you have to take a look backwards and really analyze what went on the field before you can start handicapping next week's action. So this is going to be my quick little tour around the NFL and what happened in Week 7 action. For the second straight week, of course, the underdogs bark loud and proud, going 9-5 against the spread. We had outright underdog winners with the Raiders, the Eagles, the Lions, the Dolphins, the Colts, the Buccaneers, and the Chargers. Now, let's start with recapping that Monday night game. Of course, I had, as I said, a 15-time best bet winner on the Denver Broncos, who rolled 27-9 over the Texans to snap their 2-game losing streak. Brock Osweiler, as I forecasted, would not have a happy return to Denver. 22 for 41, 131 yards. Only one sack for the Broncos, surprisingly, in that game. It's not like Trevor Siemian was that much better, to be honest with you, for the Broncos in that one. 14 for 25, 157 yards, 1 touchdown. But what worked for the Broncos was the ground game. You know, what fueled their surge to the Super Bowl last year was not only Osweiler playing well when he supplanted Peyton Manning as the starter, but it was their emphasis on the ground game. And I really thought that they would take that ground and pound attack and carry it over into this season. And for the first 2 games of the year, they did. C.J. Anderson had a couple of big games, but afterwards, he pretty much went missing in action. But last night, the Broncos ran the ball and they ran it effectively. And it's one of the reasons I used Denver as a best bet last night, because Houston entered that game with the number 28 run defense, a defense allowing opposing backs to average 4.2 yards a carry. Listen, guys, statistics don't always lie. C.J. Anderson last night, 16 carries for a season-high 107 yards. Devontae Booker, 17 carries for 83 yards. And the negative-positive trends for the road-home split for the Texans continues. I am perfect with my plays involving the Texans this year. Why not? It's been so easy. Houston 4-0 straight up and against the spread at home, 0-3 straight up and against the spread on the road, losing those games on the road to New England, Minnesota, and Denver, getting outscored 85-22 in the process. And let me give you those Brock Osweiler numbers again. At home, 62.7% completions, a little over 1,000 yards. Not great numbers in terms of 7 touchdown passes, 6 interceptions, but a hell of a lot better than in the 3 road losses where he's completed only 45.8% of his passes for 511 yards with 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. Hell, I think the Texans are looking, maybe thinking that Brian Hoyer wasn't that bad after all. The Packers, of course, opened up week number 7 with the 26-10 home win over the Bears because they didn't have any running game. Aaron Rodgers had to put the ball up 56 times. Yeah, he completed 39 passes, but 326 yards, 39 pass completions. Nothing to brag about, 3 touchdowns. The Giants kicked off the Sunday card with a game in London that nobody really gave a damn about. 17-10 win. The Giants won the game despite going 4 for 13 on 3rd down. Only 13 first downs in the game. Only 232 total yards of offense. Again, as I've been pointing out week after week, the Giants cannot run the ball. 32 rushing yards in the game. Week prior, in the win at home against Baltimore, they only went 4 for 15 on 3rd down. Again, when you don't have a ground game, you're putting your offense in deep trouble every time you're facing those 3rd down conversions, and you're putting all the pressure clearly on Eli Manning. Well, how did the Giants win? Well, you know as well as I did. Case Keenum. 4 interceptions, game, set, match. Kansas City, 27-21 home win over the Saints, but the Saints were a 6.5-point underdog, so they get the cover. Drew Brees, 37 for 48, 367 yards, 3 touchdowns. He threw the ball 48 times. Kansas City, 1 sack in that game, and that has been Kansas City's problem all season long. They have been unable to generate much of a pass rush. The Saints killed themselves in that game. 2 turnovers, 10 penalties, 75 yards worth of infractions. The week prior when they blew a 21-0 lead at home against Carolina and had to win the game on a 53-yard field goal in the final minutes, 41-28, they had 10 penalties in that game, 126 yards against them in that one. But the Saints covered again as a road dog, 10-3 ATS, their last 13 as a road puck, including a 3-0 mark this season. Patriots, they were my 15-time best bet on Sunday. They won 27-16 at Pittsburgh. Tom Brady, 3 games back since his supermodel vacation is over. 76 for 101, 1,004 yards, 8 touchdowns, and the team has scored 68 points. Landry Jones, he didn't play that poorly for the Steelers. 29 for 47, 281 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Problem with the Steelers, though, offensively, hurt themselves, 10 penalties, 85 yards, and they only managed to come up with 3 field goals and 4 red zone tries. What worried me in that game, however, for New England, they had 0 sacks of Landry Jones. They only had 3 hits of Jones as well. They've got to do a better job defensively going forward. Indianapolis, the Colts didn't choke on the road for once. 34-26 win at Tennessee. Andrew Luck, 27 for 39 in the game, 356 yards and 3 touchdowns. Colts won despite going 4 for 10 on third downs. They won despite 12 penalties, 131 yards. Does this seem to be a prevalent theme every game, every team? I'm talking about all these infractions. Is the NFL running out of yellow flags to be thrown? Indy now 10 straight wins in the series straight up, 15 of the last 16 overall. Colts 1-3 now straight up on the road, but keep in mind their defense has allowed 30, 34, 28, and 26 points in those 4 road games. And that's one of the reasons that Indianapolis has gone over in 10 of their last 13 on the road. The Eagles beat up the Vikings 21-10 thanks to a defensive effort that was responsible for sacking Sam Bradford 6 times and forcing 4 turnovers. Easy for me to say. The Vikings 19-4 against the spread now under Mike Zimmer after suffering their first straight-up and ATS loss in 6 tries this season. The Bengals beat up the Browns 31-17. Big deal. They always beat up the Browns. Last 4 games in the series, they've won 30-0, 31-10, 37-3, 31-17. Cincinnati 559 yards total offense, 271 rushing yards. No surprise, the Browns the week prior in a loss to the Titans gave up 407 yards. Andy Dalton, last 3 starts against Cleveland, 726 yards, 7 touchdowns. And FYI, if you're not doing anything next weekend, you could probably audition to be the Cleveland Browns starting quarterback. So, send in your applications, care of the Cleveland Browns. The Lions, 20-17 win over Washington. They snapped the Redskins' 4-game winning streak, and they managed to chalk up a 3-0 homestand sweep. Who would have thought? I mean, listen, the betting favorite was Jim Caldwell to be the first coach fired in the NFL this season, but the Lions are really showing some moxie, especially Matthew Stafford, whose 18-yard touchdown pass to Anquan Bolden with 16 seconds to play, won that game for the Lions. Redskins fall to 8-3 against the spread, their last 11 regular season outings. They had gone over in 10 of their previous 11 games, but this one fell far short of eclipsing the posted price. Even though the Lions won, they're still only 5-6-2 against the spread in their last 13 home games. Oakland, calling the Road Warriors. The Raiders, 33-16 at Jacksonville. 4-0 straight up and against the spread on the road this season. How can the Raiders be 4-0 on the road this season, be such a great road play since Jack Del Rio took over the team, and yet they're 2-9 against the spread in their last 11 in Oakland? Perhaps because they play in the crappy Coliseum. Raiders, though, did win despite having 11 penalties for 117 yards. But then again, the Jaguars had 13 penalties for 112 yards, so it all negated each other out. Jaguars only 344 total yards in that game. I say only 344 because the Oakland Raiders came in that game with the worst defense in the NFL. Jaguars only 2 field goals and 3 trips into the red zone. The Dolphins pull off the 28-25 upset of the Buffalo Bills. Jay Ajayi, 214 rushing yards after 204 the week prior against Pittsburgh. The Dolphins rally from a 17-6 deficit in that game. Dolphins 454 total yards. The Bills only 267. Dolphins 37 minutes time of possession in that one. Nice game for Miami. Listen, the ground game has made them such a dangerous team because the week prior when they upset the Steelers, they had 222 yards rushing and 474 total yards in that game. LaShawn McCoy playing hurt, only 8 carries for 11 yards. He had run for 470 yards in the prior 4 games. Why he was playing is beyond me. Bills only 87 rushing yards against the number 31 run defense after having 312 running yards against the number 32 run defense the week prior. That, of course, being San Francisco. Bills now 1-3 in the AFC East. 8-3 ATS run at home. But of course, they're hosting the New England Patriots, who are seeking revenge after losing in Foxborough 16-0 back on October 2nd. As for the Dolphins, only their 5th cover in their last 17 games overall. The Jets, big deal. They beat the Ravens 24-16. Ravens have now lost 4 in a row after that 3-0 start. I told you they were frauds. Ravens only 245 yards in total offense. Yeah, that switch in offensive coordinators has really made a difference, right? Only 6 yards rushing. They only tried to run the ball 12 times in the game. Jets controlled the clock, 36 minutes, time of possession. It helped that Matt Forte was healthy for once, 30 carries, 100 yards. Tampa falls down 14-0 in the first quarter at San Francisco and then rolls 34-17 over the beleaguered 49ers. Tampa, 513 total yards. Again, 249 yards running against the worst team in football when it comes to stopping the run. Just told you what the Bills did against the 49ers run defense the week prior. Well, listen, the Buccaneers did just as much damage. They ran for 273 yards. They controlled the clock 34 minutes in that game. Actually, they ran for 249 yards, and their defense showed up. 273 yards. They held the 49ers to. Colin Kaepernick, he's just not that good. I mean, he's not an NFL quality quarterback. He's a decent backup, but 16 for 34, 143 yards. He was sacked 4 times in that game. He had 2 turnovers, 6 straight losses now for the 49ers since they opened the season with that long-forgotten 28-0 shutout on Monday night against the Rams. By the way, San Francisco's defense has allowed 1,230 yards on the ground in the last 16 games, or last 6 games. 562 yards rushing they've allowed in the last 2 losses to the Bills and the Buccaneers. And understand, the Buccaneers were down to their 3rd-string running back, Jacquizz Rodgers, 26 carries, 154 yards. Chargers, 33-30, comeback win in Atlanta in overtime. They were down 27-10 in the second quarter. Phillip Rivers, 371 yards and a touchdown. The Chargers now 21-9-1 against the spread. Their last 31 as a road dog. You talk about making money as a road puppy. But how about them winning the game straight up? They had lost 10 of their last 11 road games straight up. As I pointed out on the Countdown to Kickoff show going into this game, the Falcons, great play as an underdog, covering 9 of their last 10. Laying points, forget about it with Atlanta. Falcons now 2-10 against the spread, their last 12 as a favorite. They are, however, 6-1 over this season. Finally, in the game that was the cure for insomnia, Seattle and Arizona played to a 6-6 tie. Cardinals own every statistical category in this game. Too bad they didn't have a place kicker that could hit a field goal. 443 to 257 yards, total yards, their advantage. 46 minutes to 29 minutes in time of possession. Arizona 10 for 21 on 3rd downs. Seattle only 3 for 14. Arizona 23 first downs. Seattle only 11. Seattle also 10 penalties for 90 yards. Seahawks, though, get the cover because they went off getting 1 to 1.5 points, but still they're only 11, 12, and 1 against the spread in their last 24 games overall. Well, that'll do it, guy. That's your tour of week number 7 in the NFL. I wish you well, and we'll do it again next week in the rearview mirror.